everyone. It's good to see everyone again. So today we're going to talk about resetting your metabolism, digestive, and hormonal systems. And also I want to mention in our upcoming summer conference, Dr. Neil Bernard will be talking about food, hormones, and balance. So you'll be able to get his insights into this as well to get a little more complete picture. So first of all, as you know, nature has orderly cycles between day and night, the moon going from full to new and back again, and the rotation of the seasons. So nature's cycles are 100% reliable. And we have ways of aligning with nature's cycles that help give us this type of orderliness and stability. They actually bring it into our life, and they automatically align us with nature's, changing cycles. So as you know, in the winter, sap is deep in the roots, leaves are not there, everything is brown other than evergreens. Early spring comes, February, nature's energy begins to rise. By June, actually August, it's in full bloom, and that's the beginning of the end, the downward cycle. And it just revolves, rotates year to year. And we also know, other than nature's orderly cycles, nothing else is 100% predictable. They say death and taxes, but outside of that, everything is endlessly changing. So the 7 steps is a way of aligning with these cycles. And we have 2 ways that we especially can align. One is through our daily schedule of sleeping and meal times. So we're able to align with the day, the monthly, and the yearly cycle. And the other second way is content of our meals. Planning our meals around grains and vegetables followed by soup. So a grain, bean, vegetable-based diet, as we recommend. And we'll talk a little bit more about these, but essentially this is how we align our metabolism. Now, what happens every day? So during the day, we eat food and we're active, and we're giving out energy, we're using that. So when we eat food, basically we're breaking down solid food to liquid, liquid to energy. And most of the energy goes, some to physical energy, some to emotional, some to our expression, to our thought, and even spiritual energy. So most of our food goes towards energy. And we're active during the day, giving out, releasing that energy. What doesn't go for energy, our body uses for growth, repair, and maintenance. And what's not used for that, we eliminate. We get rid of everything. So the way I use metabolism is our ability to bring in nourishment, to be active in all levels, areas of our life, and then to release what we don't need. Then at night, we utilize that food that we ate during the day to clean, repair, and maintain our body. So we go through all the processes that happen towards sleep. And then when it's time to wake up in the morning, we gather this energy, this excess, this physical and solid excess, and we eliminate it. We stretch, brush our teeth, we go to the bathroom, shower, body rub, we do everything to eliminate. Now, I've read a lot recently that we need 8 hours of sleep to maintain our health, though I don't completely agree with that. So first of all, what is sleep? What does sleep mean? Sleep means basically we are returning to oneness, reconnecting with the universe, you could say. But what happens during sleep is sleep means the time it takes for our organs and our nervous system to recharge. So the same way, like you have your computer, you have your cell phone, you recharge it, usually at night. So then you have enough for the day. So one aspect of sleep is how much time it takes for our organs, our brain and nervous system to recharge. Second is how efficient our body's processes are of repairing, maintenance, and cleaning. Now, the time we actually need for sleep really depends on our overall diet and activity. So it's not the same for everyone. Plus, it's not the same throughout life. Babies sleep almost all the time. As we get older, normally we sleep less and less. So these things are changing, but they're really regulated, by our diet and activity. So I can't agree that if you don't have your full 8 hours of sleep, then you're going to be really in trouble and it's going to promote all kinds of things. That's not necessarily true. It really depends on your diet and activity, how well you do these things day to day, how efficient your body can become at recharging, maintaining itself, and elimination. Okay, so this is basically the day-night cycle. In addition to that, we need more oxygen during the day and less oxygen at night. We don't need the same amount of oxygen all the time. We need more oxygen in the summer, like it is now, and less in the winter. These are yearly cycles. And we recommend having green plants in rooms where you spend time, especially the bedroom. And some people say, well, but plants are taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide at night while we sleep, which is true. However, that's nature's cycles because we need less oxygen at night. We want the room to be cooler to sleep well at night. I mean, many people are aware of that. But actually having plants which are lessening the oxygen, I mean, it's not that dramatic because we don't live in hermetically sealed houses for the most part. Then that allows us to get more oxygen during the day when we need it. So, for example, if you want to take a really deep breath in, the best way to do that is exhale as strongly and as deeply as you can. Then you automatically take a good in-breath by exhaling first. So by making our room, quiet, orderly with green plants, then we're aiding the whole sleep process. So this is one very important thing. Then the next thing that's very important, because our body converts fat into sex hormones. Our body converts fat into hormones in the first place of all kinds. So Macrobiotics is a low-fat diet. We're relying, mainly on oil for our fat. And the use of oil is a very important thing. I mean, there's a big movement in the vegan community. No oil, no salt, no sugar, no SOS, salt, oil, and sugar. And sugar, we agree with in macrobiotics for the most part. Salt, we don't, because we think salt is essential for good health, physical and mental health. And that oil is important for a couple things. Number one, besides, oil raises the energy of the food. It makes us more energetic. Oil makes food taste better. It makes it, a meal with oil is more satisfying in many ways. But oil also aids in the absorption of minerals and fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. So giving us better nourishment. Now, the question is, who's right on this? Is macrobiotics right that it's important to use oil? Now, somebody seems to be at my door. I'm sorry. So the oil question is recent science first Is recent science more accurate on this, or is macrobiotics? Well, I always look at history as a guide. And civilizations that have, great health and longevity and great contributions to humanity all used oil. Right? Not excessively, but oil was a part of the diet, especially sesame or olive oil. And Michio Kushi's son, Larry Kushi, is a medical research. He's a scientist. And I often call him just for a reality check. And recently, again, because it's one of those things that comes up, and I always like to check, am I on the right track on this? And we had a long conversation about oil. And in short, he said, according to the most accurate and latest scientific research, it's the quality of oil, not even the quantity. So I was surprised at that answer. But he said, you don't really have to worry much about the quantity. It's really the quality of oil that's important. And one thing you might have noticed is the oil in restaurants and commercial food is just getting worse all the time. I don't know what they do with it, but it's really bad, worse than ever before. But the reason I'm going on about oil so much is we do, from my point of view, we do need to regulate oil, because if we have a lack of oil for a long time, basically we dry out. We dry out emotionally, we dry out hormonally, especially as we age. If we have too much oil, it does interfere with the functioning of our pancreas, our liver, our gallbladder, certain organs. So we need to find that balance of how much oil to use. And that's from person to person, because it really depends on where we live, what kind of activity. So, like in hot climates, they're very generous with oil. Certain types of cooking, oil is used very liberally because it's a very hot climate. And oil helps to deal with the heat. So, and anyway, we need to pay attention to how we use oil. How much? So not too little, but not too much. So I'm not just talking about health-wise, as Larry Kushi's answer, but in terms of our hormonal system. And I noticed one of the things that got me to change, my macrobiotic practice and recommendations is watching a lot of old-time macrobiotic people who started when they were sick. And in the beginning, we often recommended avoid oil for a while. And then a lot of these people were afraid to add oil back in, because this is how they recovered their health. So, but anyway, then watching how they did over many years with the lack of oil, and I thought, it's really not good. We really do need to use oil. Maybe not in the beginning, maybe not for a few months or a year or two, but it is important. Okay. So then what really disrupts our metabolism? Well, the biggest thing for most people is animal and dairy foods, because they're treated with growth hormones, they're treated with antibiotics, and they're given many chemicals that are hormone disruptors. So that's number one, animal and dairy foods. Number two is artificial sweeteners and chemicalized foods. So like any GMO foods or foods that were exposed to Roundup, essentially destroy our microbiome, our gut bacteria, as do artificial sweeteners. And my experience, many people in so-called health foods are using agave nectar and stevia. And many people think stevia is completely natural, but I don't. It's not eating the leaves in the tropics. It's processed to lessen the bitterness and increase the sweetness. And I think it disrupts your microbiome, which is the core, the seat of our metabolism. Then after that, it's refined and processed foods. Then after that, it's fried and baked foods. Now, frying was a big part of macrobiotic cooking for a long time. like for years, we used to have an oil pot on our stove because we routinely make tempura or deep fry things. We haven't had an oil pot on our stove for 10 years because I think even though it's traditional macrobiotics, frying is something we have to be very careful. And the other is how much we have baked things, cookies, crackers, cakes, things like that. So then together with that, lack of activity and then contact with nature. So these are basically the things that are disrupting our metabolism. And together with that, just a chaotic daily schedule. So what can we do to regulate, harmonize, activate our metabolism, our hormonal system, and our digestive system? And they're all so closely related. They all interact with each other. So it's hard to really separate one from the other. Like the pancreas, for example, is the center of our digestive system, but it also regulates blood sugar. It has double function. So then our thyroid with our metabolism. Okay, so the number one important thing is what time you get up in the morning. And getting up means it has nothing to do when the alarm clock goes off. Getting up means when your feet hit the ground, when you change from horizontal to vertical. Because we receive energy differently when we're lying down and when we stand up. Okay? So the first thing that activates our metabolism is when our feet hit the ground. And if you want to have good health and a healthy metabolism, that needs to be no later than 7 a.m. If you want to have a more active metabolism and better health, move it back to 6 or even before. But it's still fine by 7. If you want to be healthy and have a healthy metabolism and digestion, your feet need to hit the ground by 7 a.m. The second thing is that the time that you start your breakfast. This is a recent discovery because I always said lunch is the most important, but not everyone eats breakfast, but if you eat breakfast, it's important to start it. That means you're sitting down ready to eat no later than 8:30. There's a huge difference before 8:30 and after 8:30 as far as your metabolism and also blood sugar. Diabetics do far, far better, even if they don't change anything. Just getting up, just eating, starting breakfast by 8:30. The next important thing is eat your lunch. Start your lunch no later than 1 o'clock and don't skip lunch. Lunch needs to be carved in stone. And if it's possible to have lunch as your main meal each day, then that's preferable. A lot of people can't do it, can't have lunch as their main meal because of their work or school. But throughout the world, the noon meal was the main meal up until the Industrial Revolution, when cities and factories changed all that. So then people started to take food with them, and the family, the pattern got disrupted because of that. But at any rate, you want to start lunch every day, no later than 1 o'clock. And the reason is our blood sugar follows the sun's movement. So after midnight, especially from 2 a.m., our blood sugar starts to rise so we can get out of bed easily with a clear head. Then we have good energy during the day. Then after noon, especially from 2 p.m., blood sugar starts to fall so that we can settle down, we can go home at night, and we can go fall asleep at a good time. So that's the normal daily cycle of blood sugar. And it's similar summer and winter, but this is the day cycle. When we start our lunch, basically locks that cycle in. It resets it. It resets our blood sugar clock every day when we start our lunch. The next important thing is to have a full 3 hours before getting into bed without any food. You can drink, you can have tea. Kuzu drink is absorbed like liquid, so you can have macrobiotic kuzu drink. But we shouldn't have any food because for our body to be efficient in sleeping, cleaning, and repairing, we need to go to sleep with an empty stomach. Now, here's the important thing. Staying up for 3 hours means to be horizontal, or let me say it this way, not laying down, but I'll say it in another way, to have at least 1 foot on the ground. Soon as both of your feet leave the ground, your metabolism slows down. So 3 hours is not 3 hours. So a lot of people, and the reason I say this, they sit on the sofa after dinner, they put their feet up, they fall asleep. When it's time to go to sleep, they wake up and they say, oh, it's 3 hours. But no, the clock starts when you wake up. You say the same thing when you're recliner. Now, the exception is if you sit cross-legged, because that activates your digestion. That's fine. So we want to, then the next thing is, it's very important to avoid eating in between meals because, see, the problem is, the reason you need to start your breakfast by 8:30 is that when you eat in between breakfast and lunch, then it stagnates your metabolism, has the opposite effect, stagnates your digestion. So in the beginning, most people snack. It's hard to get enough nourishment or satisfaction. But after you're doing this for a while, the best health comes when you eat and your digestive system expands. You have several hours of activity, it contracts. Then you eat lunch, it expands, several hours and it contracts. You have your dinner, expands, contracts, we go to sleep, and then we go to breakfast. If you eat in between, it's disrupting. Your digestive system never fully contracts. It can't be truly healthy or truly, clean itself properly. So the secret to not snacking is what you eat at your 2 or 3 meals, whether it's satisfying you enough or not. If your meals satisfy you, you feel worse eating in between. You don't feel well. It affects you physically, mentally, energetically. So when our health is good, we have the best digestion, most active metabolism than when we have our 2 or 3 meals at the proper times. Then the next point is sleep. Our most important sleep, our most healing sleep is when we have the most celestial activity. The most celestial activity means when the most stars are out at night. Now, I have to say, everyone, unless you live in a pristine area, does actually need more sleep now than we did in the past. And the reason is for 2 things, because electromagnetic pollution and radio wave pollution are interrupting our metabolism. So 4G wasn't bad enough. Now we have to be concerned about 5G. So all these networks and electromagnetic and radio wave pollution affect everyone's metabolism and everyone's circulation because that energy doesn't circulate like nature's energy, like being out in the woods. Second, ambient light from cities block the celestial world. We can't see stars the way we used to. Even in the country, it's not quite the same. You got to go somewhere and go up in the mountains a bit to really see stars like we used to see them. So that affects our sleep and our body's ability to recharge and reorganize itself. But at any rate, the most important sleep comes between midnight and 4 a.m. Now, it takes 1 to 2 hours to get into deep sleep. So that means ideally, for the healthiest sleep, we want to be in bed by 8. No, by 10, by 10. Then 11 still works, but after 11, it's decreasing the quality of our sleep. Now, if for whatever reason, at least be in bed before midnight. But if you really want to have the healthiest, most refreshing, deepest sleep, be in bed somewhere between 10 and 11. It makes a huge difference. Then you have the ability to sleep in the best, then to get up and to start your day very easily by 7. Then the next thing that's important is activity to keep our circulation and digestion good. And that is number one is eating slowly and chewing well. So we've, given a lot of emphasis and importance to chewing in macrobiotics throughout the years. And I heartily agree with that, but the pace at which we eat is just as important. Eating slowly. In some ways, it's more important. Like in our approach to macrobiotics, how you eat is just as important as what you eat. I mean, I think that's 100% true. The pace at which we eat is just as important as chewing. So eating slowly and chewing well, that's number one. Number two is walking outside, especially when the sun is shining. Number three is the body rub. Now, the body rub is very important and everything interacts. So the combination of eating slowly and chewing, walking outside, and the body rub, I think you'll find creates the best digestion, circulation, and metabolism of anything. Then the single most important thing for rebalancing our hormonal system is avoid extremes. Extremes in your diet. So if you eat animal food, not too much animal food. If you eat fish, not too strong fish, not too salty, not too many baked and fried foods, not too many sweets and desserts. In other words, I'm not saying don't do these things. Have your diet more towards the center, but avoid extremes. Then avoid extremes of activity. In other words, too much sitting around, too much computer, too much screen time, too much TV. So lack of activity or excessive activity. Because excessive activity, a lot of people turn to excessive activity to make them feel better emotionally. And it does after for a period of time, but it really exacerbates the problem. Okay? Same thing like if you eat sugar, if you eat chocolate, you eat ice cream, you feel better for a while, but then that wears off and you feel worse. Activity is the same, extreme activity. You'll find that light to moderate activity, whatever you like to do, whether it's yoga or sports or dancing, that type of activity will, create the best hormonal balance. So, and the final thing is a grain and vegetable-based meal because we eat complex carbohydrates, which break down complex sugars down to simple sugars very slowly, releasing even energy. And that even energy nourishes our physical energy, emotional energy, right? Sexual energy, every type of energy is nourished by that slow breaking down. And the combination of grains and vegetables have the most complete and balanced nutrition. So that's essentially, my outline for rebooting, rebalancing your digestion, your hormonal system, and metabolism.
So now we're going to turn things over to our formal Q&A segment. As I mentioned, we're going to take questions live here, and I'll also be checking in on Facebook as well too to see if individuals have questions. So you can either send a question directly to the chat. I'll send a message to the chat so you can see where that chat is. You can also use the raised hand feature, or you can just unmute your microphone and I'll see that you're unmuted and I'll call upon you directly. So once again, I'm going to be looking at a lot of different areas here, but I'm going to start off with a question that I already have for you, Denny. And that question asks, what is the best safe cookware that exists in terms of materials that are used for that cookware and brands? If you can answer that question, Denny.
Okay, well, we use a combination of stainless steel, of cast iron, of enamel like Le Creuset, and also traditional fireproof clay, so traditional Japanese cookware. And we use a combination depending on what we're cooking. And I think it's always better rather than using one type to use. I think they are all the healthiest and most unique in different ways. And they have, different applications for different types of cooking. Before another question, I like that. You had a chance to see Wes, Hyungmi's son, and to see an example of a macrobiotic child, how well nourished, how bright, right? So the idea that macrobiotic children don't get enough nourishment is one of those strange mythology superstitions. It's the opposite. He's very typical of, hundreds and hundreds of macrobiotic children that I've seen, or probably thousands by this point. So just wanted to throw that out.
All right, thank you. Dina, I do see that you posted a question, but do you want to ask it live? I see you unmuted yourself.
Oh, I'm happy to ask it. Is it about the, I have a few questions. So the October retreat, is this going to happen?
Yes, it will be happening. And I can definitely give more information for those who are interested toward the end, but we will be having a retreat entitled Power of Foods, and that's going to be October 6th through the 10th this year, 2021, and that's going to be in the Haverford, PA section. So it's about 35, 40 minutes outside of Philadelphia. And I know Dina had an opportunity to be a part of one of those retreats in the past. So yep, we're going to be having that retreat. Good to go.
Looking forward to attending it again.
Okay, great. We're looking forward to having you.
Okay, the other question I have is sunflower oil. Is it safe to use sunflower oil occasionally when you cannot use olive oil or sesame oil? Is it okay to use sunflower oil or not?
Yes, so sunflower and safflower oil do better in high heat. So if you are going to fry, that it's a good choice. But day to day, we
No,
recommend.
for sure not. But if you need something in high heat once, whatever, occasionally,
It's fine.
then sunflower and safflower are the ones to use,
Yes, yes.
as opposed to canola and other.
We don't recommend
Corn
canola
oil.
at all.
Right.
Or anything. I don't want to get started, but no, don't use canola oil.
Okay. Soaking farro and barley when you cook them with rice, do you need to soak them as well? I mean, we soak the rice, but do we need to soak the farro or the barley?
Well, we use pearled barley and
Right.
farro, which are slightly refined and don't need to be soaked. So you soak the rice and just add those. If for the whole barley, which we don't use anymore because it got so hard, it's not even enjoyable. Then you definitely have to soak that.
Okay, but otherwise the pearl you don't need to soak.
No.
No, I haven't been soaking it and it's beautiful. I mean, but I thought maybe I was doing something wrong. A question from Yael is a source for umeboshi and sesame oil, because the source that we used to have, the natural imports, doesn't offer it anymore. What is a good source to get this umeboshi, plums, and sesame oil?
I mean, the only choice you have natural import.
But they don't offer it anymore. They don't have it.
You have Gold Mine in San Diego.
Gold mine?
You have Eden.
Okay.
For sesame oil, Flora, you find in the refrigerated section of health food stores, Flora, Flora. They have very nice oil, very nice light sesame oil.
Okay. And Eden and Gold Mine
Gold
sell
Mine.
umeboshi. They do sell umeboshi
They,
plum.
they do, yeah, Gold Mine, I think, has the Osawa umeboshi. Yeah, so you can try them.
Okay.
There's actually one other company, Natural Lifestyles. They do have the Sweet Cloud barley malt. Natural Lifestyles. Also on the West Coast. Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a comment in the chat. The individual says that they just bought ume plums last week from Natural Import. So they believe that they should now have what it is that
Maybe they do have it now.
Yeah, they said that they purchased them last week. So this is from an individual who definitely, yep, knows what they're talking about. So yeah,
Oh,
so you
thank
may want to just double check.
you. So we'll check again. They ran out of a lot of stuff in the past year, because of COVID. They weren't getting any shipments from Japan. So maybe they started getting them. Okay, thank you.
It's not only COVID, the FDA is clamping down more and more, making it hard for them to bring in a lot of products. It's
Why?
very unfortunate.
Why?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes, just bear with me 1 second. I want to try
Sure.
to go in. You can be after I go through these. Ella, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Ella, we'll be right there. We just have a few in the chat that I want to address.
course.
So, Denny, and I guess this is a brand. What do you think of Extrema ceramic cookware? I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Not familiar with it.
Okay.
So-
Christina, if you want to elaborate a little bit more, or is that Tina? If you want to elaborate a little bit more, is that a brand?
Yeah, it's a brand. It's ceramic cookware. I don't know, but I heard that there's nanoparticles, but then the company swears by it that there's not. I've been using that for years, and I just don't know if I did any damage or I don't know. I don't just use that, but and as far as the Japanese one, what brand is that you recommend?
We have these Japanese nabe, they're cast iron with wooden lids. And there's a company in San Francisco, Soko, S-O-K-O Hardware. They used to sell them, I believe they still do.
Soko, S-O-K-O Hardware, and they sell those nabi pots?
Yes, you have to make sure you get the uncoated ones.
Okay.
We don't like the coated, the uncoated ones are much better. It's wonderful cast iron. I don't know why. It just keeps food moister than American cast iron.
But then won't you be absorbing too much iron?
Well, that's, if you use it all the time, you probably do. That's why we have a variety.
Okay, and one more question. In terms of the stainless steel, like some of them have aluminum on the bottom, I mean, it doesn't really go in the food, I don't think. Like, so what kind of stainless steel do you recommend?
Cuisinart, and if you want to go up, like all clad,
Oh, all clad?
yeah.
Okay.
Cuisinart is good. They have like a professional line that's pretty good.
And the copper's on the bottom, or is it aluminum or?
I forget, but
Okay.
it's good quality.
All right, thanks so much. Thank you, Tehran. Thank you. Thanks,
Oh, you're
Dan.
welcome. Let's see. Denny, if you can please review the benefits of chewing well, thanks. I know you talk about this a lot, so maybe briefly.
Okay. So number one, chewing circulates all fluids and energy in the body, digestive, hormonal, everything, plus all sorts of energy. The more thoroughly you chew your food, the more nutrition you absorb from it in your small intestine. The more you chew food, the more alkaline it becomes. The more you chew food, it strengthens your immunity as well. And chewing makes you brilliant. Right? One of Nietzsche's for people who couldn't answer questions, he'd ask them how many times they were chewing. Chewing food and chewing ideas are the same thing.
Okay, thank you. Ella, if you would like, you can pose your question if you want, or we can come back to you. It looks like you may be a little busy now.
It's okay, I can do it now.
Okay.
First of all, thank you, Danny. Wonderful lecture. Great to see you in good health and spirit. And I have a question for you. Lately, we became using pasta made of kale or dandelion or any other green stuff, cooked, of course. And we really love it. Is that kind of because just eating green leafy vegetables by itself sometimes getting so boring. So is that pasta kind of like a good to use it often, or it's not so good?
Well, I don't know. We use, traditional Italian pasta, durum wheat, semolina, and water, just two ingredients. Sometimes it has, kale or other things as a flavoring, but it doesn't count as a vegetable. I mean, whatever you cook with grain is grain. So if you have pasta with whatever in it, it's still,
It's a pesto.
oh, pesto.
Yes, we're using pesto, making pesto of leucinata kale
Oh,
or
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, why not?
yeah,
is
that's
that
all good.
counting like vegetable, like green leafy vegetable
Oh,
or
it
not?
doesn't count as a vegetable, but it's wonderful and delicious. And
Yeah, it's so delicious. We do it like daily now on grains, on pasta, on everything else.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to allow maybe 5 more minutes for questions. We typically allow 10 to 15. So we'll try to get through as many of these as we can. So maybe wrapping up around 52 our time. So actually going along with the last question about pasta though, Denny, are there brands that you could recommend? They mentioned Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. I don't know if you guys go to Trader Joe's much, but if there are any brands at Whole Foods or any other local markets that you could recommend.
We buy our pasta in the Italian market in Philadelphia. So like a traditional Italian shop that has their own brand, and they also have another brand they import from Italy. So I never remember the name of it.
Can you show us a package?
Yeah, give me a second. I don't know if you can see the name. So what's the name?
Is this from the local Italian or something that we can buy in the supermarket?
I don't think you'll find it in a supermarket. You'll probably find it in a specialty Italian store.
Okay.
In a health food store, Bio Nature is a good brand. Susan really likes their pasta as well. So they're basically the two brands that we use. So we buy our pasta at Claudio's in Philadelphia. I don't know if they mail it or ship.
How about the Whole Food brand, also imported from Italy?
I've never tried it.
Uh-huh.
But real pasta is durum wheat, semolina, and water. And then if it has a good consistency and taste when you cook it, it should be fine.
It is 100% durum semolina.
Yeah, and not enriched. You don't want
Not
enriched.
enriched, no.
Okay, probably okay,
I guess, I'm not sure actually, come to think of it.
probably fine.
Okay, thank you. Denny, what's your opinion on alkaline water consumption? Thank you.
I don't know if it's harmful, but I don't think it's beneficial either. I don't recommend it. We get alkaline when food breaks down slowly, goes through the duodenum, gets alkaline secretions there, and is absorbed in the small intestine. That's what makes real alkaline blood. So that's what we recommend. Good food and good chewing.
All right, thank you. So I have another question here. Suggested changes in food and lifestyle for postmenopausal women.
Well, basically, so estrogen decreases, that means becoming more young, plus energy moving up, more spiritually. So less young in essence, salt, less fish, less animal food, and more good quality yin, including, tofu and soy products. That's so just broad, varied macrobiotic diet without extremes, emphasizing good quality of yin in selection and preparation of foods.
All right, thank you. So the time is now 4:51 Eastern time. So I think unless there's one more question, we're going to wrap up with our Q&A for this segment. I'm just double checking here to make sure there's nothing on the Facebook Live, because last time we did have a lot. Okay, so no questions on the Facebook Live. So, thanks again, once again, Denny, for the presentation, and thank you to everyone who was able to attend. This recording, of course, will be available sometime tomorrow, so I'll be able to send out the recording if you missed a little or you want to be able to rewatch. But we're going to also upload it on our different channels. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel. It's going to be available on our SHI page, where there's a free video library that we definitely encourage you to share with family members and friends who may not know a lot about macrobiotics, but want to learn a little bit and get a little bit of free education there. Of course, we're going to be having another one of these seminars, and the next one is actually going to be on the 4th. So it's going to be August 4th at the same time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Take a look out eventually for the upcoming topic. We don't have that chosen just yet, but in the email that I'll send out tomorrow, we'll have the ability for you to be able to register for that. Of course, we also have a weekly macrobiotic support group that Susan Waxman holds every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. It's just an opportunity to engage and to speak to other individuals who may be in the community, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. It's been beneficial for so many individuals. And of course, we have different webinars that we hold monthly on Saturdays periodically. I've already mentioned our upcoming summer conference. So if you want to be able to register for that, information's on our website, as well as I'll send a link out for that tomorrow. And as Dina brought up a little bit earlier, we will be having our Power of Foods fall retreat, and it's going to be an in-person macrobiotic retreat, our first that we've had since 2019. Of course, last year with a lot of restrictions, we weren't able to have a few of these. So we're really excited to be able to have that. It's a 5-day retreat, October 6th through the 10th. There will be lodging present, but it's really first come, first serve. It's a beautiful, beautiful location. I don't know, Dina, if you want to even, talk about your experience briefly, how amazing firsthand, lots of food, cooking classes, different things that you'll be able to do with individuals on site. Dina, if you want to just share, please.
And of course, meeting very, very nice people, and people who share same ideas and same thoughts. And it was so good that I attended it twice. And I'm looking forward to attend it again in October coming up to 2021. We learned a lot. We learned a lot. And we're able to share our knowledge with a lot of people, family. I mean, my husband is a macrobiotic believer, and he's just happy with everything I bring in from the retreat or from any conference I go to. So very, very educational, very good. We enjoyed it. And the place is magnificent. It's so pleasant. It's so beautiful. We enjoyed it a lot. I went there with my daughter, and we'll probably come in again with my daughter in October. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Dina. And if you want to be with Dina, feel free to take the part and register. As I mentioned, we'll have links available for that as well, too. Denny, did you want to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, the Power of Foods was our most popular seminar for years, and in some ways, I think our most important. It's really our life's discoveries about food and traditional foods and how they interact with macrobiotics, and why all these things developed, why they're so important. So it's something I'm very passionate about. And as usual, the cooking classes, Susan's class will complement the lecture part. So, we hope you're there to take part of it. And we're so excited because it's the first one in a year and a half or more that, we had to cancel everything. So
Yeah.
to finally have an on-site program and be with people face to face again, it's very exciting. So also, thank you very much for being here and being part of this. I wanted to put together a library that shows people the content and breadth and variety, within macrobiotics and within SHI macrobiotics, a free library, so that people can really start to see, what we have to offer and what we're really about. So thank you for being part of this. Thank you, Jaron, for bringing it all together as usual. See you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Feel free to unmute if you want to thank Denny freely. You can also do that as well, too. All right.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Thanks.
nice to see so many people I haven't seen for a while. Thank you. Thank you.